Now, an activity provides the window in which the app draws its UI. This window typically fills the screen but may be smaller than the screen and float on the top of other windows. So when we say this, what we really mean is that this activity that we have already discussed actually has a method which is called SetContentview, and it can provide the layouts for the users to see them and then take whatever actions they want to take depending upon what layout is informing them about, right? So for example, in this case we had this activity underscore main layout which was informing the user that there is a button that they can press, and they can take this button will be able to they will be able to then send this information to wherever they want to send. If we wanted, we could have also mentioned, like we had written send now, right? So you can provide this UI through this method that is called SetContentview, and this is the function of activity, so that it can provide the UI to the user. Generally, one activity implements one screen in an app. For instance, one of an app's activities may implement the preferences screen, while other activity implements a select photo screen. So basically, what you need to do as a developer is you need to find out what are the different tasks that you want your activities to perform, and depending upon those tasks you want to create the activities, right? Now, one thing which I would like to discuss here is that most of the apps contain multiple screens, right? Which means they comprise multiple activities. Typically, one activity in an app is specified as the main activity. As you can, if you remember, we also had a main activity, and this is not to mention, it's not, it's quite obvious that you don't necessarily need to name it as main activity, but it's a good programming practice when you're doing it in Android that you name your first activity as main activity. This is the activity which gets shown to the user when the user launches the app for the first time, right? So this is the launcher activity, and like we have discussed earlier also, if you have a launcher activity, you also need to mention about this activity. In fact, you have to mention all the activities in the manifest, but because it's a launcher activity, it has to be mentioned in the manifest as a launcher activity. Now let me take you to the manifest here, which we had discussed earlier also. This is the manifest, and as you can see, this is the application tag. It starts here and it ends here. We have an activity tag here and another activity tag here. This activity tag starts here and it ends here. The ending of the tag is like this, right? And the start is like this. Now here is the main activity notification which is there. The name of the activity is main activity, and we have to put something called an intent filter, which we will discuss in future as well at length. But for now, the timing, you can understand that this is a filter which helps the intents to get resolved. It helps the intents to find out which app is the particular which activity is the particular activity where they need to land, right? Whenever somebody will send an intent, which activity can actually resolve them, right? So in case of a main activity, the launcher activity, you need to put this intent filter so that the Android system knows which activities to be used to launch an app for the first time, right? Now let's go back to Android docs, and we can see that they have also mentioned this. Similarly, they have also mentioned it here. Their activity is the name of the activity is example activity, and the only required attribute for this element is Android name. So this is something which is extremely important. It has to be mentioned, quite obvious. You have to mention the name of the activity for which you are registering it, and it basically has the name of the class here. And you can also, of course, add other attributes like label, icon, and UI theme. Those all are optional, but this is mandatory. Now, intent filters. Now let's discuss intent filters in our next video.